Welcome back, everyone. So local leaders are pushing forward with plans to improve school security. This is an effort that County Supervisor Jim Desmond pushed before the board. The proposals also include support for a program helping kids connect with law enforcement. Joining us to talk about Camp Lead, Supervisor Desmond, along with Camp Lead graduate Luana Woods Medeiros. Thank you so much for both of you for coming in here this morning, for taking the time out. Supervisor, let's start with you. Talk about this letter, school security, and why it's so important, and what you hope to come from this.
Well, these were two ideas that, unfortunately came out of the recent shootings, and we need to do something to keep our kids safe in our schools. And so the first one was actually about hardening our schools and making them safer, going in and working the county with the school districts to see what we can do. Maybe we can help out with grant dollars, maybe we can help out with, with the sheriffs coming in and doing assessments and things like that, and seeing how we can keep our schools or make our schools safer. That was the first part of it. Then the second part was, how can we help our kids navigate and through Camp Lead. What it really does is, what we've seen is the shooters in these horrific crimes lately are mostly kids that were loners, or they were bullies, or there's some sort of mental health issue, and they were young. So how can we help kids in high school, get kind of over those obstacles, get kind of over that anxiety and things like that people have, and then help them feel more connected? Because even coming out of COVID here recently, there's been a lot more isolation of kids. And so Camp Lead, what that does is brings kids together and tries to give them the confidence, to be more connected, as opposed to being loners and outliers.
So where did it stand with the council, the board? They heard this, and what was kind of the feedback?
It was unanimous. It was passed unanimously, and it was very well received, and I was very happy. And these are things that we can start getting going right now, and so I was really happy to see that.
Let's talk about your involvement with Camp Lead. Your thoughts on it, and why it has had such a big impact in your life.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Camp Lead changed the trajectory of my life. When I attended camp, I was 16 years old, and I had just gotten back into school. I dropped out when I was in 8th grade. I was using a lot of drugs, and I was hanging out with the wrong people. I just was making a lot of poor choices, and my guard was up. I'd been hurt a lot. And I went from being a victim to being a perpetrator and really inflicting harm on people. And when I went to camp, I started to learn. We started to do these non-threatening activities, these experiential activities, like, draw this, step forward, step back, cross the line, like these things that just you don't think are a very big deal until we start talking about, like, what was that like for you? What did that feel like for you? A lot of the activities are around isms, so racism, sexism, classism. At Camp Lead, we also have a part about personal choices and accountability. And so I was able to really reflect on what kind of person am I? What kind of person do I want to be? And what are the things that are holding me back? And I started to make connections with people, heart to heart. So for a long time, I would look at people and I'd make all these assumptions about who they were. And as I started to go through this process, I started to really understand that I had a lot more in common with people than I realized. And so it was easier.
Amazing sharing your story with us. I mean, incredible transformation. This really impacted your life. Was law enforcement involved in these discussions, and how did that change your relationship and your viewpoint of them? Yeah,
actually, there were a couple people that were involved in law enforcement, a couple officers that were at my camp, and I didn't know that at the beginning. I just got to know them for who they were. They were volunteers, and that was just a part of who they were. And there was actually a police officer there that I got really close to. And at the end of it, I was a little bit shocked, but I was also kind of grateful, because for me and the way I grew up, law enforcement was not something that I felt safe with. I wasn't going to call law enforcement for help. But it made it a little bit easier for me to see that there are good people, and the same thing, right? I put a lot of assumptions on other people because of so many things, and it just opened a lot of doors for me.
Supervisor, Luana's story. I mean, this is why this is such an important deal. This is why you're suggesting people that maybe need this camp help find it, right?
Yeah, and schools, what happens is maybe a high school will send maybe 100 kids, and it's kids that are, the high achievers and maybe some, lower achievers and things like that, and get them to interact with each other. This isn't a camp where you go canoeing and you go and hike.
Yeah, right, different camp.
This is a camp where you learn to interact, and you learn that, hey, other kids may be facing these same anxieties that I am, and so you can learn, say, hey, it's maybe I don't have it as bad as I did, and then they can get more connected then with the school, with each other, instead of being, the lone outliers and things like that, and bring kids in. And, some kids that have, different backgrounds, they can relate and talk to each other. And that's really what this Camp Lead is about, and getting kids. Luana's a perfect example. Yeah. And now she's working there at Camp Lead.
Wow, okay. So tell us a little bit about that and what your role is going to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been doing this. I continued as a volunteer when I was a young person, and they moved me up to help kind of like with the guide team, like helping with the main facilitation.
Nice.
I do share my story at camp because I think that it's important to share where I came from and who I am, and it makes it safe for other people, and we role model there. So yeah, that's my role, is to help with that. I help with recruiting, and I help working with the students that stay involved. We have students that have been involved, or people that have been involved when they were students 20 years ago, that are part of our guide team now 10, 15 years ago, and then we have students that have gone to camp the last 3 years, 4 years, a little bit before the pandemic, and have come back and returned as leaders. So just help train them so that they can continue to pay it forward.
Supervisor Desmond brought it up. We have a huge mental health crisis here, and we've seen these school shooters that have had similar types of backgrounds and situations. Do you feel like this camp could help prevent those types of tragedies?
Well, I think when people feel connected, I think when they feel valued, I think when they feel safe, that they don't want to harm their community. You know what I mean? They don't want to do that. They want to enhance it, really. And so, yeah, I think that it can improve that. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything, but I will say that yeah, I think that it can help some of these students that maybe don't feel connected. I know it definitely helped me.
Supervisor, your message to parents out there, to school leaders that maybe want to really build this program or have people get involved in it?
Well, this is just a great tool in the toolbox, I think, for parents and for leaders, and to get involved and get our kids involved. This actually came out of Camp Lead. Has been around for a while. It kind of waned. Well, it almost went away during COVID, and now it's not quite as strong as it used to be. It came out of the 2001 Santana High and Granite Hill High Schools, those two shootings, and then Camp Lead kind of took off, and they were doing like 10 or 15 camps a year. Now they're only down to about 4 camps a year, and I think as I said earlier, after COVID, with all the isolation we had with kids, this is a time to really ramp up these interaction and get kids out and together with each other again, as opposed to sitting at home on Zoom. So I think this is a great opportunity for kids of all across the entire spectrum. Even if you got a high achiever, they too need to interact and learn about what other people are experiencing. And I think it's just good for everybody for mental health going forward.
Absolutely. Luana, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Supervisor,
you.
thanks for your time. Where can people go learn more?
Well, they can go to there is actually a Camp Lead website, or they can call my office and we'll get them in contact and get them in touch with folks to help.
All right, thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.